Joe Hopkins here, and time for another episode. It's an episode of You Need to Hear This Album. I'm going to have a drink. Join me, have a beer, and let's talk about the new St. Vincent album, All Born Screaming. Cool title, right? So anyway, I really wanted to listen to this album as soon as it came out. And when it came out, I was working a bunch of overtime and double shifts and couldn't make the time to listen to it. Well, I finally made the time. I'm very glad I listened to it. Excellent album. Not very long an album, 10 songs. Most of the songs are between 3 and 4 minutes. I think the longest song is a title track at like 6.5 minutes-ish. There's one other song over 4 minutes, and the rest of them are like 3 to 4 minutes. Right, not a really long album, but very good. And as short as a lot of the songs are, they don't sound short. They sound substantial. And I like that. Definitely, I would categorize it as progressive rock, because it is very progressive. A lot of the songs, as far as like the song structure and I guess the feel of it, reminds me a lot of like Yes, early Genesis, that kind of stuff. Very progressive, but a lot of the sounds in it sound very 90s. This album could have come out in 95 and would have done fine, and I would have bought it back then. Definitely. You know, I really like St. Vincent. A lot of times she's reminded me a lot of David Bowie or Prince or that kind of stuff. In this, yeah, this album is incredibly inconsistent. It's all over the place. All the songs sound different, and I really love that. You don't get bored. It sounds like a solid album. Like, there isn't anything on it that doesn't sound like it belongs here, but it all just sounds different. Every song is a new experience, and I like that. I like the instrumental interludes. I love the title track, which has longish instrumental parts. I love how it ends a cappella, and a lot of the singing, you can hear a lot of the vocals on the a cappella part at the end are, she's doing like strange voices and stuff. I like that kind of stuff, harmonizing in weird ways, and it just sounds really cool. Now, other times I've done this, You Need to Hear This Album, people have said, man, I'd like it if you could play bits of the songs or something, you know, some of the songs. I'm not going to do that, right? I don't want to get copyright smacked. The copyright police are a real thing, and I'm not messing with it, okay? Some people might, I don't. Besides, it's on YouTube. Look it up. The whole album's on there on St. Vincent's Vivo, you know? So, going over it, right? Like I said, 10 songs. I really like the opening track, Hell Is Near. Reckless is a good song. That one's a solidly good tune. I can see why Broken Man was the first single, I believe it was, that they put out. There's a video for it. It came out like, 2 months ago, something like that. Excellent song. Broken Man is awesome. Sound very Nine Inch Nails vibes in that, right? And on some of these songs, she really kind of is giving me flavors of Tori Amos. You know, like she listened to a bunch of Tori Amos and then sang this stuff. Right, which is a good thing. I really like that progressive kind of sound. Like I said, it definitely sounds very forward-thinking, experimental. It's the kind of thing where it seems like she went in the studio and decided to see, what can I do? And did this, and it came out good. What other songs are on there? Flee, that's a good song. I like that. Also kind of like that 90s-ish heavy industrial vibe kind of to it. Not so much in the song structure, but in the sounds, right? The sounds she was using and going for. Flea also has this nice instrumental interlude in the middle that reminds me of Yes. You know, that kind of thing. Big Time Nothing's a good song. Violent Times sounds like it is off of a James Bond soundtrack, honestly. That sounds like it should be a James Bond song. Excellent tune, really has that James Bond kind of vibe. That's the feeling I got from it. She did a song on there, the next one, The Power's Out, which it's a waltz. It's a 3/4 time. I really like that. That would be a good country song. You know, if you did it a little bit differently, that could be a country song. I like it. That's really kind of cool. And like I said, the songs are really all over the place, man. A lot of different influences here. You can feel it. Sometimes you get like the funk or soul vibe to it. Sometimes it has flavors of Bowie, which a lot of her stuff sounds very David Bowie-ish, and I dig that. I kind of get tastes of like Depeche Mode. Sometimes I feel like some Genesis is seeping through. I mentioned that very Peter Gabriel Genesis, early stuff. You almost expect her to come out in full kabuki or something, All right, so Sweetest Fruit, I really like that. That's a good song. So Many Planets. When that came on, I just felt, that's reggae. It's not, but it feels very reggae. Like that's a reggae song. I don't know if that was on purpose, but that's the vibe I got from it. And then the title track, All Born Screaming. I was wrong. It's not 6.5 minutes. It's almost 7 minutes long. And I really like the instrumental interludes in that one. I like the experimental feel of the whole album. You don't get bored listening to it, right? A lot of bands, even ones you like, by the third or fourth song that all kind of, same sound, same instrumentation. It sounds like different songs played the same way almost. By the third or fourth song, sometimes you're like, I really like this, but in small doses, one song at a time. This isn't like that at all. You listen to the whole album and it sounds like a really good mixtape, like everything is so different from each other. If it wasn't the same voice on all of them, you could believe it was different bands. And I like that. It has a really just a lot of movement to it. Like I said, you don't get bored. I like the experimental feel of it. I really like her voice, and I like her look, to be honest with you. She changes it up look-wise. When you're watching videos and whatnot, and, you see the person, right? I watched the playlist on YouTube. You see them, and look-wise, she reminds me a lot of times of Sinead O'Connor. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. It's almost like St. Vincent a lot of times does really interesting stuff. I won't say weird or anything like that, but it's interesting. No matter what she does, she still looks good. She's a good-looking woman. She has just classically good looks. And nothing seems to ever detract from that. That's kind of what reminds me of Sinead O'Connor, how Sinead had those she was a good-looking woman and wanted to kind of take the focus off of her looks and shaved her head. That's why she did that. She was trying to take the focus off her looks, and all that ended up was it turns out she looks really good bald too. She's just a good-looking woman with no hair now. And St. Vincent reminds me of that. Whatever she does, it doesn't detract from the looks. There's nothing wrong with being good-looking. Not everybody is, and different good-looking people are good-looking in different ways. St. Vincent reminds me of Sinead in that type of good looks. Being good-looking helps. I wish I was good-looking. I might get further with this whole music thing, It didn't matter as much like in the 70s. It's like, man, if you're a 70s rock star, you could be butt ugly. You're on the radio. Who cares? MTV came along and messed it all up. 38 Special, Allman Brothers Band. Those guys would never make it in the 80s. Leonard Skinner, nah, they never would have made it after like 1982 or 3. They had to make it in the 70s. But anyway, I like the album a lot. I could listen to the whole album through and it didn't get old. Most of the time, you always have a song or two in there where it's like, I could skip this one, or I'm starting to get bored of this particular sound, No, that didn't happen, right? And it's nice that I like the shorter songs. They're like bite-sized. I also like the fact that the songs aren't in a hurry. Like a lot of music now starts out with the hook. You get the chorus right off the bat. First 10 seconds, they're already, here's the hook. This has a much more classic rock kind of feel to it, where we're not in a hurry. That progressive rock sound where we can take our time to get to the chorus. We can take our time to make the point. And the songs are good enough and interesting enough They don't have to hook you right away. You want it to take its time, you know? Kind of like Journey used to do, and a lot of other bands from that time period, let's take our time and get to this. Let's get to know each other a little bit before we get right to the coitus, you know? And I like that. I like that these songs are good enough to hold their own long enough to get to the point, to take their time. That's not always the case these days. They're well-written songs, they're well-crafted musically, and they do take their time. And I like that. Even for as short as a lot of the songs are, you don't have like these 7-8 minute epics, you know, like a lot of progressive bands do, but they feel like they could be, you know? And I like that St. Vincent feels like she can do these little very progressive, interesting instrumental interludes in the middle of a song. People don't do that so much anymore. And I like it, especially when it's well crafted and well put together. You know? And a lot of it does, you do get like classic rock flavor in there too. Not just progressive, but like you get some of the guitar sounds and some of the instrumentation, the way they arrange things. It feels very timeless. This album could have been happily put out with, maybe some of the sounds would be different, but this could have been happily done in like 1975. And this album as it stands could have been done in 1995 and been a hit. And it also sounds like it could have come out a couple weeks ago, which it did, you know? Definitely good stuff. I like this woman's style. I like the visual style of her videos too. Like you watch the video for Broken Man, it's interesting. It's visually interesting. This chick has a definite sense of style and a definite sense of cool, and isn't afraid to do things that might work or might not. And it, you know, it usually works. Her videos remind me sometimes of Bjork, you know? Not like they're like Bjork's videos, but in that same sense of, let's see what this does. I'm going to do what I want and see, does it work? If it doesn't, whatever, you know? Bjork seemed to do that a lot. Yeah, and I think that's cool. I think it's cool to experiment. I think it's cool to try things. I think it's cool to express yourself and spread out a little bit and shoot your shot. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But, you know, the world's a better place for people trying new things. And I think this does work. I really like it. I've said I really like it a couple of times. Finished my beer. And I guess I'm finished talking about the album there. Yeah, All Born Screaming by St. Vincent. Check it out. If you don't want to pay for it right off the bat, go on YouTube here. It's on her. The playlist is on her Vivo. You know what I mean? Besides, who pays for music these days, right? You watch an ad. That's how you pay for it now. And that's the way of the world now. So anyway, yeah, you need to hear this album. It's an album you need to hear, and you need to hear it because it's really good in a way that people haven't been putting out really good music in a really long time. A lot of albums, there are a lot of good albums that are out or coming out, and I've reviewed some of them. And yeah, this is good in a totally different kind of way. This is a totally different kind of album, especially if you haven't listened to a lot of, you know, progressive rock or a lot of older music, then this might be totally new to you, you know? Not a lot of people listen to stuff that came out 30, 40, 50 years ago. But this has that kind of taste to it, and I like it. I like that. I like getting to hear something that actually stretches out and tries to be something. And that's what you got here. So yeah, sometimes cheesy, easily digested music is good, but sometimes you want a real meal. And this is a real meal. It's not so easily eaten and digested. You really got to listen and give it some thought. Or you could just, you know, kind of zone out and let it wash over you. Either way, good stuff. And, well, thank you for watching this video. And I hope you listen to this album. I hope you like it. Subscribe to my channel. There's a button down there somewhere. I don't see it right at the moment. It's down there when you're watching this, though. It'll show up. It's just not here now. It's probably now as I film it. It's here now when you're watching it. But anyway, yeah. And listen to my album. Here in a sec, playlists come up. I got a playlist for You Need to Hear This Album. You can see the other albums I've reviewed. And there's a playlist called You Didn't Get a Memory. That's my album. Check it out. It's streaming below. That's my pitch. I'm pitching me. I'm promoting myself. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video, man. Love you guys. Peace out, baby. Bye-bye.